In parts work, we know that our mind, that our body-mind system is consisting of different parts that all have their own opinion, that all have their own story, that all have their own traumas, their own dreams, their own history. They're almost like little personalities that are swirling around in your psyche. In parts work, what we do is we start relating to these parts because they're showing up anyways. So these parts, you can't turn them off really. They are a fact of life. For example, if you want to get ice cream, there will probably be a part of you that's like, okay, let's go, let's get ice cream. I'm looking forward to that. And then there will be another part that says something like, oof, but ice cream, that's expensive. I don't know if I want to like waste money on ice cream right now. Or another part that might be more ashamed will be like, ice cream, no, that's gonna make me fat. I don't want to eat ice cream. Look at my tummy, it's already big enough. No, let's not eat ice cream. So human beings are living in a constant state of ambivalence. And that is because we have parts in us that are pulling us in different directions. What we do in somatic parts work is we localize these parts within our body. Most of the times they are showing up as tension because if you imagine one part is going in the one direction and the other part wants to go in a different direction, what that does is it creates tension. It creates tension. And that tension is showing up somatically as physical tension, that is showing up as internal conflict we have, rumination, and also as pain that we experience in the body. So this is a way of building a deeper relationship with you and sort of exploring the map of your psyche, of your life, of your mind, of your body, and get into a closer contact with it. So you can resolve these conflicts, resolve the tension of seemingly opposites within you, and become more unified. So the parts that I just talked about aren't just simply mental. Of course, you can talk to them, and I will show you a quick exercise that will help you access these parts. But first, I want to talk about the nature of these parts, because of course, there are thoughts when we think about the ice cream. Or let's take a more serious example. For example, you're going through a really difficult time in your life and you have like an inner critic coming up that is really talking down on you. Who is this inner critic actually talking to? So there's an inner critic that is probably talking to you from above, that is talking down on someone within you. And then there's another part that is receiving the inner critic. Maybe like a part that feels small, that feels ashamed. No, I don't want to listen to you. And maybe then there's another part coming up that wants to protect that part. And then you all of a sudden have like a gigantic conflict of different parts that are all wreaking havoc on your system. They're unchecked, they're unnoticed. And before we, once we notice these parts, they tend to relax. Once we understand what they're here for, once we understand their patterns, their mission, their purpose, their dreams, their longings, and also their story, once we befriend them and understand what they're afraid of, what they're protecting us from, then the tension can relax. So that's what we want to do today. This is a 6-step process. And if you want, you can follow along. Like in other videos, you can simply close your eyes and listen along from now, because this is all about tuning in with your body. And the best way I can teach you this framework is through directly bringing you into the experience. So if you want, close your eyes. And if not, you can simply listen with your eyes open. The first thing we want to do is we want to find the part. So when there is a conflict within you, when you feel stress, when you feel an emotion that you have a hard time being with, we first want to localize that in your body. So you can close your eyes and you can ask yourself, where in my body is this part showing up? Is it showing up as a tension in your chest, as like a fiery sensation in your stomach, as tension in your face? We want to find the part. It's the first thing you do. Pretty straightforward. And when we move into the next part, the next chapter of this hero's journey, we want to focus on that part. So that part that we just found, we're now simply being with it, focusing on it. And with that, I mean there is nothing to do here. With focusing, I mean we're placing our attention, we're placing the headlight of our consciousness on that part of our body. We're not doing anything with it already. We're just being with it. The third part is fleshing out. What does that mean? We start to describe the part. We start to get in touch with it. We start asking ourselves, how does this feel like in my body? Does it feel like heat? Does it feel like tension? Does it feel like I want to run away? We're meeting the part with open curiosity, and we just, it's like you just picked up something in a little store, in like a vintage store. You found a nice object and you're looking at it from all sides. And this is what you do with a feeling in your body as well. We're simply looking at it. We're investigating it. And you can ask that part, why are you here? What is your story? You can act towards the part as if he's someone that you meet in real life that you want to get to know. Like, what's your story? Who are you? What we do here is we're increasing the resolution. In the same way we increase the resolution of a YouTube video, we increase the resolution we have in the relationship towards that part. We're making it more clear. So what is that thing that is showing up there in your body and in your mind? Who are you? And then one of the most powerful questions you can ask the part, and that's the fourth step of this process, is how do you feel towards that part? Ask yourself the question, how do you feel towards that part? So you have a tension or you have a feeling that you just discovered a part of you. And you want to ask yourself, how do you feel towards that tension? So what we're doing here is we're describing the relational quality we have towards what is showing up. How do you feel towards it? Do you feel angry? Do you feel at peace? Do you feel afraid? Do you feel conflicted? Why is this question so powerful? Because this question is sort of an indicator of how connected you are to yourself. Remember that part that I spoke about in the beginning, this someone that is always there, and that I said this is within you, and I literally mean it. This is the self, the witnessing, that is looking at the parts, that is able to relate to the parts. And sometimes we mistake ourselves for another part. So if, for example, if a tension is coming up in your chest and you're like, how do I feel towards that tension? And you say, oh, I feel angry. I don't want it to be here. Then you've mistaken yourself with a part. In parts language, we call that you've blended with a part. And what that question, how do I feel towards that, is doing, it's unblending the part. So instead of you being one with a part of you, you start to unblend. And then what you do through that, you create a healthy distance, a healthy sense of dissociation from that part, and you're associated more, you're connected more to yourself, and that enables you to look at that part. And then there's a distinction between you and the part that is showing up. So you have a tension in your chest, for example, and you ask it, you feel towards it, I feel angry, I don't want it to be there. That's another part showing up. And what do you do then? You tell the part to take 2 steps back. Tell the resisting part to take 2 steps back. And then you do the same process again. How do you feel towards that part? If that resistance, if that part had a place in your body, where would you feel it? Where are you feeling this part? How would it look like? Can you focus on that part for a second and simply acknowledge that it's here? Can you tell that part, hey, I see you? And how do you feel towards that part? Again. And then you may find out that feeling towards the part that was frustrated with the tension in your chest that we were initially looking at. If you look at that frustration, you have sort of compassion for it, and you can be like, yeah, I can be with that. And the thing within you which can be with that part, that is yourself. That is that inner companion that I talked about in the beginning. And sometimes between the self and whatever part is coming up, there's like milk glass, and we mistake the part for the self. What we want to do is we remove the layers of milk glass, we investigate it, and we come in touch with something endlessly compassionate and very intimate. And finding that place within you is sacred. It's really special. And you get to that place through the question, how do you feel towards that part? If you feel angry, if you feel sad, if you feel any kind of contraction, anything less than compassion, curiosity, and calm, then that's probably another part showing up that also has a story that you also can find in your body, that also, a second step, needs to be focused at, needs to be welcomed, wants to be understood, so fleshed out, third step, and that wants to be unblended with. Fourth step, how do you feel towards that part? So, fifth step, if you've successfully unblended from this part and you found like this self-energy within you, you can start the next step, which is befriending the part. Giving the part compassion. Telling him, hey, I can really tell that you're carrying a burden and must be really tough, right? Yeah. I can really tell that you're holding a lot, and just want to tell you, like, I see you in that and I'm here for you. What could happen then is the part gets suspicious, it gets maybe a bit, shaky or mistrusting. And even with that, we want to be compassionate. We don't want to rush the part into being anything so we can like exploit it for our own needs. No, we want to be with it. So, what do you need when you feel that mistrust? Your part, like, I can see that you're like, you want to feel safe with me, and I'm just saying, like, I understand. It's been a long time since we've met. Being understanding, being compassionate. And with that, always staying in touch with the feeling. So when I ask the question, how do I feel towards the part? It's exchangeable with the question, how do I feel towards the feeling? The part and the feeling are kind of the same thing. They are different colors of the same picture. They're different facets, different dimensions of the same essence that we're talking about here. This is why parts work is somatic. Because we always incorporate the body. The parts are living in our body. This is the house of the parts, so to speak. So, can you befriend the feeling? Can you welcome it? And then the next powerful question, which is the last question in this process, is, what are you protecting me from? One possible question. I'll let that sit for a bit. The second question is, What are you afraid of would happen if you stop protecting me? And again, all we're doing here is witnessing, listening, creating an open dialogue with that part that is showing up and with that protector that shows up as tension or as a certain emotion or feeling in the body. So we want to treat that part like a friend, like someone that is doing a really important job. We want to honor it for exactly that. How you can see what you're doing is important to you, right? So what do you think would happen if you stopped doing that? And then an answer might come. I think you would die. And even with that, like, hey, thank you for protecting me from that. I see you in that. I also see how exhausting it is for you. I see how important that is. Like how meaningful the preservation of my life is for you. How much love you have for me through that. So we want to empathize with the position of the part. We want to step into the shoes of that part and be like, hey, yeah, I get you. Because something is really important for that part. It wouldn't protect you if there wasn't something worth protecting. So there is some love embedded in that. And this is usually what the parts want to be seen in. Like their protection as an expression of love and of like admiration. And then again, like start a conversation with that part. And can you allow that part to be here? And through that, you can find out what the part is protecting you from. And you likewise can find out what the part needs in order to feel relaxed. And oftentimes, the part that is doing the job it's doing doesn't really like doing the job. I had a child of mine doing paperwork for me. And I wondered why doing paperwork is like so exhausting for me. Why it overwhelmed me so much. Of course, when a child does your paperwork, it's not meant to do that. It's meant to play. And usually, when the parts feel that there is someone like mature and someone accountable, someone they trust present, they are ready to give up their role and like send their energy. This is somatically speaking. Like you feel a sense of relief and the energy is flowing into another productive area in your life. Maybe the part that is controlling, that is holding on, is longing for freedom. And he's now the agent of freedom in your system. He wants to like plan things and he wants to like go on adventures. So we want to ask the part, what would you do if you didn't have the role? And what would it need in order for you to feel safe enough to give up that role, if you want to? Like this is also something really important. We have to ask the parts for permission. Like a key understanding of this work is that emotions and parts have an autonomous quality to them. You cannot force them to do anything. You cannot simply modify a part that you're in touch with. You need to humbly ask for its permission to be in touch with it and slowly like befriend it. Ask it for the permission maybe to do something else. So the parts will let go of the burden it's carrying when it's like when the part itself decides it's time, I feel safe enough. And the same thing is true for the tension in your body. Like again, you can exchange part and feeling. The feeling of tension, the unexpressed emotion in your body, and of course, like there's a physical side, like if you have like physical ailments from like a car crash or things like this, I'm not guaranteeing that it's always that way, but most of the daily tensions have at least a psychosomatic component, and you can access that component through doing the parts work. So you can just as well see the feeling of you, the pain within you, as a part of you that wants to be befriended and that wants to protect you from something. And it's protecting something that it finds valuable. So we want to get in touch with the pain. We want to get in touch with the feeling. And we want to be touched by the feeling. There's something touching about these parts. There's something touching about their relentless effort to protect us. Something very human, something very intimate. And getting in touch with that feels like remembering something that we once forgot. And that is usually very close to what I described as the self. The self is the witnessing presence. The self is that within you that can not only withstand, but befriend the waves of emotions that sometimes flare up within you. And the closer you're in contact with that, the more you've unblended from your pain, the easier it will become to understand and release it. Because what we're releasing here is not the part itself. We don't want to get rid of the part. We want to release the burden that it's carrying. We want to release the belief that something terrible is going to happen if it stops doing its work. That belief we're releasing. And then simultaneously with that, we release sometimes grief, like we're crying. Sometimes we're also like angry. Sometimes the release can come through an insight or regular relaxation in our body. In short, we're getting like the energy back into flow. This is the aim of this work. So again, the 6-step process is find the part, focus on the part, flesh out the part, like get to know the part. How do you feel towards it? Befriending the part, making it your ally, understand it. And then ask the question, what are you afraid of? What do you think will happen if you stop protecting me? What are you protecting me from? So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a comment and give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.